This episode brought to you by W Energy Drinks. Link for discount in the description down below. Yeah, I didn't know how to start this video. Usually in the film industry, a film can take plenty of reshoots, rewrites, and recasts just to get the final product, resulting in some of the film's content to be cut. Whether it's a scene, an ending, a character, or even an entire movie, there's going to be some parts that are scrapped. But sometimes the original version of a film can make a person go,
"What the fuck?"
So to discuss how the original concept of a movie and the final product of the movie can change drastically, we are counting down 10 of the original movie versions that shocked many viewers. Number 10. Cats. The 2019 musical fantasy film based on the 1981 West End musical Cats by Andrew Lloyd Webber received generally negative reviews from critics and audiences who criticized and were unsettled by the humanoid cats created through visual effects. Plus, was considered to be one of the worst films ever made. But did you know the film's original idea was going to be animated? No, more animated. 2D animated. It was going to be hand-drawn. Yeah. So there was some concept art for the movie and characters, which I'm not going to lie, it looked pretty cool. But I saw that the studio that was working on it, Amblimation, but after the studio closed in 1997, the idea was abandoned and got picked up by Universal Studios. I guess they decided not to do the hand-drawn style because it wouldn't be nominated for an Oscar. Then again, it wouldn't have been nominated for a Razzie either. Nevertheless, we got a movie that was definitely a memory we won't forget.
Right, well that's not going to work, is it?
Number 9. Monsters, Inc. So, I found this kind of interesting. Not the idea of monsters scaring kids as a job and having another world in kids' closets. That idea has been done before. The interesting thing was the original idea was nothing like that. According to director Pete Docter, yes, that's his name, the idea was that a 30-year-old man who is like an accountant or something, he hates his job and one day he gets a book with some drawings in it that he did when he was a kid from his mom. And he doesn't think anything of it and puts it on the shelf, and that night monsters show up. And nobody else can see them. He thinks he's starting to go crazy, they follow him into his job and on his dates and all this, and it turns out these monsters are fears that he never dealt with as a kid. And each one of them represents a different kind of fear. As he conquers those fears, the guys who he slowly becomes kind of friends with, they disappear as he conquers those fears. It's this bittersweet kind of ending where they go away and so not much of that stays. So it was basically like Where the Wild Things Are, kind of. The original idea probably got scrapped because I guess kids don't want to watch something like that. Or even adults, actually. Plus, seeing how Drop Dead Fred came out years before that, and the death breath. Yeah. So that would be one reason why that idea wouldn't work. And came up with the idea for a buddy story between a monster and a child. With some rewrites, and we got the movie we got.
Put that thing back where it came from, or so help me. So help me, and cut.
Number 8. Anchorman. The satirical Will Ferrell comedy film about pompous anchorman Ron Burgundy and his incompetent news team in 1975 San Diego became a cult classic over time. Which is good because the original was definitely a WTF. The original idea was supposed to be a parody of the disaster film Alive, in which case a group of newscasters are stranded in the wilderness after Ron Burgundy crashed the airplane into a mountain, and their lives became a battle for survival against hostile predators. Throughout the movie, they are being stalked by orangutans, killing the team off one by one with throwing stars.
Wow, you couldn't make this stuff up.
They wrote the news anchor plane crash script, then called it Action Newsman, and director Paul Thomas Anderson even considered producing it before ultimately finding it too out there. After it was announced, all of Hollywood rejected it. And to be fair, Hollywood greenlit a lot of parody movies that were bad. So it was probably best that Hollywood scrapped that idea. Now we just need to make a good idea. Number 7. Toy Story and Frozen. I'm putting both of these movies together on the list because the originals had two fan favorite characters, Woody and Elsa, as the villains of their movies.
Kidding me, right?
Nope. They were originally going to be the villains. As you can tell from some of the storyboards and deleted footage, they were leading towards Woody and Elsa as the main antagonist. For Toy Story, the chairman at the time, Jeffrey Katzenberg, was unhappy with the script. Frozen was in development hell for over 70 years because filmmakers struggled to adapt Hans Christian Andersen's The Snow Queen into a compelling, relatable story. But still, it is kind of odd of what could have been. For one, a lot of kids grew up with these characters, so seeing them as evil is off. But again, we've seen precisely what has been happening to public domain characters turned to horror monsters. Also, we would have seen Disney do a Hans Christian Andersen story like it was exactly written. Well, that's my opinion. And, well, let's say let it go and enjoy childhood the way they came out. Number 6. Ghostbusters. We went from a Will Ferrell comedy to a Dan Aykroyd comedy. Good start. Even though Ghostbusters have been a big staple of New York's sci-fi and comedy, the original, for one, took place in space.
Oh! Okay! In that case, do you think you could elaborate?
Inspired by his family's deep roots in spiritualism and an article on parapsychology, Dan Aykroyd originally conceived Ghostbusters as an ambitious, futuristic, and multi-dimensional sci-fi action film. Also, instead of having Bill Murray, Harold Ramis, and Ernie Hudson in it, was originally going to have Dan Aykroyd himself, John Belushi, and Eddie Murphy. Well, to be fair, the creators said Slimer was the ghost of John Belushi. That's one way to put him in their movie. The reason the director didn't go along with this version was...
Money.
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 I'm gonna say money.
Yeah, the idea was scrapped due to the budget cuts. They did decide to cut it down by having the movie take place on Earth, making the Ghostbusters University professors who go into business for themselves, bringing us the classic we all love. Number 5. Wish. Let's be honest, guys, I can make a whole video on why the movie Wish is the most hated Disney movie in recent years. In fact, I will. One annoying rant later. The original was actually better. For one, Asha and family lived in the hamlet, a spot in the woods of people who knew how Magnifico was hoarding wishes, and so would write theirs out on strings to put around a wishing tree. Sabina would have encouraged Asha to fight back against Magnifico by relating her own journal on her wishes and hopes. The star was originally going to take on a humanoid form, perhaps a young boy. That would have made him a more vibrant character and possible romance for Asha. In fact, one idea would have been him taking on a form based on Asha's memories of a past love who died, giving it more pathos. Valentino would lead a talking animal army, the king and queen would have been an evil duo, and Magnifico would use the wishes and turn into a giant monster, leading to a climax that looked breathtaking. Why didn't they go this route? They wanted to modernize the story.
That's the stupidest shit I've ever heard in my fucking life!
I'm not saying a story should be modernized. I did an entire video on how to modernize a story right, but that decision is just stupid. I don't need to say anything else. Weirdly enough, there are fan videos of the original idea, even fan songs, which means the idea would have worked. So basically,
This is our message to the people.
Number 4. The Star Wars sequels. Insert Star Wars meme here. The Star Wars sequels trilogy had a highly diverse reception. Despite massive commercial success, grossing over $4.4 billion worldwide, critics generally praised the first two films while the final entry received mixed reviews. Fans remained sharply divided, citing a lack of cohesive narrative and controversial character choices. It was definitely divisive all over the internet. But before that, the original creator George Lucas originally planned the sequels as a generational saga where Leia Organa becomes Supreme Chancellor of the New Republic. Luke Skywalker rebuilds the Jedi Order, and the main antagonists are a resurrected Darth Maul and his Sith apprentice Darth Talon. The galaxy would descend into political chaos. The remaining fractured stormtroopers would refuse to surrender and start their own rebellion, while optimistic gangsters led by the Hutts would seize control. A very old cybernetic Darth Maul who returns to unite the criminal underworld into a massive syndicate, acting as the godfather of crime. Yeah, that's how he worded it. He also created Anakin's grandchildren, Sam and Kira, ultimately revealing Leia to be the chosen one responsible for bringing lasting balance to the galaxy by establishing a peaceful galactic society. What I find kind of odd is that some of the spin-off shows were trying to build up to this version. The Mandalorian, Rebels, The Clone Wars, even Solo, a Star Wars story, was building up the idea. Maybe Disney was trying to retcon the sequel trilogy to Lucas's original idea? Who knows? It would be interesting that Disney tries to fix one of their mistakes for once.
Difficult to see. Always in motion is the future.
Number 3. The Emperor's New Groove. Okay, this is probably the last Disney movie on the list. I think everyone recently on the internet knows the story of the original movie idea called Kingdom of the Sun. Was meant to be something of the Prince of the Pauper style story, wherein a citizen and a member of royalty swap roles. Again, a story done to death. The villainous witch Yzma, voiced by Eartha Kitt, has plans to summon Supay, the evil god of death, and destroy the sun so that she may become young and beautiful forever.
Right.
Discovering the switch between the prince and the peasant, Yzma turns the real emperor into a llama and threatens to reveal the peasant's identity unless he obeys her. During this time, as the emperor and doing Yzma's orders, the peasant falls in love with the emperor's soon-to-be fiancée, Nina, who I just realized might be the precursor to Melina in the Emperor's New School. The Emperor Llama learns humility in his new form and even comes to a love female llama herder named Mata, and they set out to undo the witch's plans. Like most movies, there are plenty of reasons why this version was cancelled. Poor test screenings, falling severely behind schedule, and creative differences over an ambitious Prince and the Pauper storyline. Really enough, you can see the original content online. Mostly storyboards was actually pretty interesting, and we get to see and hear the late Eartha Kitt's villain song for the movie. Check it out and see for yourself. Number 2. Cool World. Okay, heads up you guys. I originally found out about this original version while watching the Nostalgia Critic episode. The great premise featured an incarcerated cartoonist who conceives a child with his cartoon creation. The half-human, half-cartoon offspring would later seek out and attempt to murder the human father for abandoning it. So, this psychological horror movie that has a sympathetic monster in it was scrapped to do a buddy cop comedy. There was also a rumor that the producer of the movie, Frank Mancuso Jr., rewritten the film behind Baxi's back, and Ralph Bakshi punched Frank in the mouth for it. Now, that would have been a fun documentary worth talking about. Bottom line, studio interference was not the way to go with this IP.
This place should be erased.
Jurassic Park. The writers really wanted to kill John Hammond in the original. Pretty Woman. Let's just say the original version wasn't that romantic. Aladdin. Nothing changed plot-wise, just that Aladdin's mother is alive and Jafar had 2 different villain songs. Shrek. They originally wanted Chris Farley to play him, and Shrek tries to be a knight. I Am Legend. The original ending was basically closer to the book than what we got. The Hobbit. Plotline's the same, except Del Toro was going to direct it. Zootopia. The whole shot collars on predators, in my opinion, was too depressing for a Disney movie. Sonic the Hedgehog. There was actually a version where Dr. Robotnik turned a 10-year-old kid into a blue hedgehog. Dark. And the number 1 original movie versions that shocked many viewers is... So... Just to hear me out, guys. There was going to be a different version of Illumination's The Lorax. In early concepts, Teenageville was going to be a grim, hyper-dystopian society where the air was so polluted that citizens relied on bottled oxygen to survive. This was later lightened to selling fresh air in bottles to fit the musical comedy tone. The Once-Lore had different designs, but they decided to keep him human. Plus, the cut songs and storyboards show more closer to the message of the book than the one we got. But the worst part is that there was going to be a villain song that's on the same levels as Hellfire. Showing the complexity of the character of the Once-Lore instead of being influenced by his family. If you want to hear and see the villain song Biggering, it's on YouTube. I highly recommend it. Now, Illumination did use some of the lyrics from Biggering, which gave us...
Can I be? I'm just doing what comes naturally.
I'm Galactic Knight, and we were robbed.